I've been talking about doing this video for quite some time, and it is finally here. This is the Flyhaul FC610. I think that this is one of the best cheap RC cars you can get. For the most part, its only downside is that it's really not all that fast. When we did our review of this car, we clocked it in around 17 miles per hour. That is faster than its direct clone, the HBX 2995, because the HBX comes with these smaller tires. They are smaller than these as well, so that gives this the speed advantage straight out of the box. However, for me, it's still just not fast enough. For this car, besides the big oversized tires and the oil-filled shocks, I also fit it with a Hobbywing 3300 kV brushless motor and ESC combo. The problem is, that puts this thing at over $300. And for that price, you might as well just buy a Team Associated Rival MT10, which is a little bit bigger. The goal with this video is to make this truck super awesome for under $225, including the price of the truck. We also have some life/channel news throughout this video. The parts we are going to use are the truck, a $42 brushless motor and ESC combo. This is a 3650 3900 kV, a new pinion gear to go on that motor, a new set of oil-filled shocks. Now this is actually optional because the truck does come with oil-filled shocks installed. However, they're not that great. You compare it to another car of similar size with similar sized tires on it. This has those new red ones and it is so much more absorby. And then we have a new transmitter and receiver. You do have to replace this because the original controller that comes with the truck will not work with a new ESC. Why else do I like the Flyhaul FC610? Or the HBX 2995? Well, because it's a super durable truck, so if you like to drive your cars hard like we do, we jump off ramps at full speed and stuff and usually land on concrete, and these take it better than almost any other car we've got. Probably actually better than any other car we've got, including the expensive ones. That's why I say, as of right now, in 2022, this RC is probably the best that you can get for a cheap upgrade. I've got all these parts listed in the description. Now, if you bought one of these trucks a couple of months ago, you may have gotten it at the $70 or $80 price. Unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. They raised the price quite a bit since then, but they've been holding it on sale right around 90 to 95 bucks. So that is the price that I'm ranging this video off of. If you like this content so far, whether you're new or a returning viewer, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you prefer the 2995, I've got that listed down there too, but it is a little bit more money depending on how the sales are going at that time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put all of these parts on the truck and we are going to take it outside and test it really hard. Now, winter is approaching, but in a couple days we have a 70 and 80 degree day. So I'm gonna try to run it on those days so that we can see how well this motor handles heat. I'm pretty sure if you've not seen one of these trucks in action yet, I think you're gonna be pretty pleasantly surprised with what it's capable of with a motor set like this in it. This ESC does not have a place for headlights to plug in, so I'm just going to remove the headlight harness. You really should clean all this dirt off before you do this, but I'm not. Flyhaul comes with a 14-tooth pinion. The 2995 is a 16-tooth. You can get either size gear. A 14-tooth is going to give it a little less speed, but a little more power, and also probably reduce the risk of overheating the motor. And the 16-tooth should add a few miles per hour to the top speed. So that's it. You just simply flip the motor mount around the other side. It says 16 instead of 14. Basically, these holes are just slightly off center, so that if you mount it on the 14 side, it pushes it just a little bit closer to the spur gear, and if you mount it on the 16 side, it pulls it a little bit further away. That way the gear mesh between the pinion and the spur gear is exactly where it should be, because otherwise this mount is non-adjustable. You can only use a 14 or a 16 tooth pinion. check out that awesome gear mesh. I just used the original adapters from the old shocks and then put these tiny little washers on here and use the same screws that came on the car. Now I'm also going to move this bottom shock mount to this inside hole to raise the ride height just a little bit. And if you're worried about binding the axles by raising the ride height, don't be. These things spin freely at almost any angle. No more bounce. Drivetrain's rolling smoothly. The ESC cavity is pretty small on this car. This unit will not fit in there, so I'm probably going to just glue it to the top of the chassis brace, making sure that I don't cover up access to the screws. One thing to note though, if you're doing this to the 2995, it will not fit because of this body. You could remove these driver dudes in here. They're just held on by a couple of screws, or maybe even cut a slot for the ESC to fit in, or you could go with the smaller ESC like the hobby wing that I've got in here. It does fit, but luckily the body of the fly hull has the big cavity here under the roof where that does fit nicely. I'm also going to super glue this piece of foam between the car and the ESC. That should help the ESC absorb some hard impacts and maybe not break too easily. I cut it out of this super foam block that our kids play with. Just don't tell them. Luckily we have like 1,000 more of these things. Now time for the receiver. Okay, then the ESC plugs into channel 2 on the receiver.
And the steering servo plugs into channel 1.
Now we'll just see if we can tidy these cords up a little bit. Then we're gonna throw a battery in there. First we'll put one of the batteries that the truck actually comes with in there, see how long it lasts and how good it does. And then we'll try out one of these 1800 milliamps. And we've got rubber washers here on the body posts for extra body protection. It also helps keep the body pins from sliding out because rubber is frictiony. Also, this is going to be the last video taking place at this house. We finally sold it. We have a new one coming. Well, actually we're gonna go to it. That's how it works. Time for our speed test. Oh, well, that's not. No, that says 20 miles an hour. I know it's going faster than that. $29.6. $30.6. Ooh, oh no. Wasn't quite enough for a backflip. Oh, it broke.
You lost the wheel?
Yeah, the middle of it blew out. All right, we threw a new set of tires on there. These are actually a little smaller than the old ones. All right, this battery is dead. We now have the 1800 milliamp in there. The motor is not excessively hot. Oh no! Well, I was a little bit disappointed with these tires. Tire beads separated from the rim on all four of them. It's not a huge deal, that can be repaired with glue. This video is not over. I just wanted to take this second real quick to say it is officially time to say goodbye to this workspace and this house. It is honestly a really strange feeling to leave a house you've been at for 10 years. The place where your 4 kids came home after being born. The home that I've driven to every single day after work for a decade. It's really a strange emotional feeling. But we're on to bigger and better things. I can't wait for you to see it. We've got a temporary place first, which is my mom's house, because we are still finalizing a deal for a new house. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, because we love every single one of you. But this whole moving fiasco is the reason that videos have been spaced out a lot more than usual. We ended up having to rush this a lot quicker than we wanted to. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the performance of the truck, so we tried one more thing. That's coming up in just a second, but it's time to go. Almost forgot my workbench. Well, we are now in our temporary spot, and what we have decided to do is put those extra large tires. That way we can see what the difference is, right?
Yeah.
Nice one. Oh. There you go.
Now I want to show you a thing. Let me show you. Come here. See?
Much better performance with these tires. Better grip. They did not separate. The entire car did really well. A few cracks in the body. There are no issues with the chassis. No cracks, splits, or any other kind of detrimental damage. That foam and super glue held on great this entire time. And that was 3.5 battery packs total we ran through this. No broken shocks. Fan still works. Steering and suspension are still solid. There is definitely a very distinct difference between this motor and the Hobby Wing that we have in the 2995. I mean, this one has more power. You can really feel it. But for the price, this one's really not that bad. $40. Last time I checked, I think this one was $130. I do recommend the Hobby Wing set over this one, but I also, so far, do recommend this set because it's working well, it's handling these large tires, and it's still got a lot of speed, and it has enough torque to do a actually almost did a double backflip off that ramp. And with the smaller tires, it wouldn't even do a single backflip, if you remember from, I don't know, a couple minutes ago. That's why I love these tires so much. They're very massy, so they have the weight and the volume and the centrifugal force to cause the car to flip really easily. They have a lot better grip, probably in part because they are a little larger. These tires were available on Amazon, but now you can also get them on Banggood. To keep it under the price tag that I talked about in the beginning of the video, you could always skip out on these shocks and go with the tires instead, or just get them both. Spend a little more money. Of course, what I really recommend is the Hobby Wing. You're going to spend a whole lot more for it, but in the end, it's totally worth it. This car is solid and worth that money. It hasn't broken, but the choice is yours. I feel like I've given you a lot of options in this video. They're all good. We got roughly 12 minutes of runtime out of the stock battery that comes with this truck, which, considering everything we did to it, that's really not too bad. And then this one was more like 15 minutes. Battery runtime is going to vary pretty widely depending on certain conditions like your driving style and weather, but that should give you a pretty good idea of what you should get out of them. Links to the truck, all the parts that I used, including this battery, will be in the description. Lots of times I also have coupon codes listed in there that you can use to save you some money, but either way, I really don't think you can go wrong with this setup.